Here's something they don't mention in divorce support groups. Your ex-wife is walking headfirst into a mental battle she never saw coming. This isn't some revenge fantasy where she suddenly recognizes her mistake and begs to come back. What I'm describing goes deeper than that. It's about the collision between expectation and reality that rewires someone's entire worldview. Picture this moment. Countless men are sitting alone right now, checking their ex's social media, seeing posts about fresh starts and self-discovery. These guys torture themselves thinking she's flourishing while they're barely surviving. But behind those carefully curated images and inspirational quotes, something entirely different is unfolding. She's heading toward a truth so uncomfortable that her mind will reshape itself just to handle the internal conflict. When a woman exits a marriage, especially one that lasted years, she's abandoning more than just a relationship. She's dismantling an entire mental framework she didn't even know existed. Consider this. Throughout your time together, you served as her baseline for everything. Every choice, every feeling, every future vision included. You somewhere in the calculation. Even during those conversations with friends where she vented about your flaws, you remained at the center of her psychological world. Now she's drifting in space, trying to convince herself that losing gravity equals liberation. This initial phase stretches from 2 weeks to 3 months. She's riding high on her own courage. Each morning brings a mental pat on the back for being so bold, so resilient, so self-sufficient. She rearranges furniture, signs up for that fitness class she mentioned for years, maybe creates a dating profile just to explore. Her social circle pumps her full of affirmation. You're radiating confidence. You're absolutely glowing. You deserve something better. And she absorbs every word. She genuinely believes she's living in a new reality, when actually, she's living in a narrative she's constructed about reality. The protagonist of her story just escaped mediocrity, and unlimited potential awaits around every corner. Her phone lights up with messages and matches. Men give her attention she hasn't experienced in years. She interprets this as confirmation of her decision. What she's missing is that she's confusing volume with substance, attention with genuine interest, and newness with actual worth. This is where things shift. She goes on an actual date post-divorce. The guy looks perfect in theory, attractive, accomplished, says everything right. Dinner happens, maybe cocktails. The evening flows smoothly. Then he makes his move at night's end, and suddenly something clicks that feels like ice water down her spine. This person doesn't truly know her. He's unaware that thunderstorms terrify her, or that she checks the front door lock multiple times before bed, or that certain commercials make her cry. To him, she represents Friday entertainment. That's when the first fracture appears in her story. But acknowledging uncertainty now would mean confronting the possibility of error. Psychologically, that's unbearable, so she pushes harder. More dates, more apps, more girls' nights out, except something's changed. The attention feels less intoxicating. Compliments ring hollow. She notices patterns, how these men discuss their exes, how they treat service staff, how quickly they push for physical intimacy. Without conscious awareness, she begins measuring them against you. Not deliberately consciously, she's maintaining that you are the obstacle, but her subconscious does what brains naturally do. Pattern recognition, comparison analysis. The charming one constantly interrupts her. The successful guy is emotionally distant. The spontaneous one is actually just reckless and drinks excessively. With each comparison, you improve retrospectively, not because you were flawless, but because you were familiar. You represented safety. You were home. Usually around months 6 through 8, the novelty evaporates completely. Her friends grow weary of hearing dating stories. The children, if you have them, act out from their shattered stability. And she's been too preoccupied with self-discovery to notice. She's exhausted from performing happiness because that's what it's become, a performance. Every living my best life post requires more energy. Each public smile weighs heavier. She's an actress who's forgotten her motivation. Panic manifests differently in different women. Some go into hyperdrive, pursuing validation manically through more dates, more activities, more anything to avoid stillness. Others withdraw entirely, spending weekends in bed, scrolling through old pictures, analyzing where things derailed. But they share one commonality: historical revision begins. That terrible marriage, maybe it wasn't so terrible. You, the person she couldn't tolerate. Maybe she was too critical. That future she felt certain about. Maybe she miscalculated. Here's where psychology gets fascinating. She can't simply admit error that would shatter her entire self-concept. She invested months, possibly years, building an identity around being brave enough to leave. Her whole social narrative rests on this foundation. Instead, she creates a new narrative. Perhaps you've changed. Perhaps you've evolved. Perhaps under different circumstances it could work. This allows her to entertain reconciliation without admitting she was wrong. Let's discuss what's actually happening in her new dating landscape. The dating pool for divorced women, especially those with children, doesn't resemble romantic comedies. Men showing interest fall into predictable categories. Players viewing her as vulnerable and eager. Married men seeking affairs who conveniently omit their wives until several dates deep. Perpetually single guys who are single for discoverable reasons. And yes, some genuinely quality men exist, but they're either unavailable or have abundant options. She's competing against women without divorce history and children. A terrifying realization emerges. Her perceived market value doesn't exist. Those app matches, they match with everyone. Those beauty compliments copy-pasted to dozens of women. That chemistry she felt, he experiences it with anyone willing to sleep with him. The harsh economics of post-divorce dating hit like a professional fighter. She's not special. She's not unique. She's another profile among thousands. Around the 1-year mark, though stubborn or self-deceptive women take longer, the psychological defense systems fail. The narrative crumbles. Loneliness crushes her. Not "I wish someone were here" loneliness, but existential loneliness where you realize you've demolished your entire existence for a mirage. She's sitting alone one evening, perhaps after another disappointing date or another weekend without the kids, and everything hits simultaneously. The magnitude of her choice, its irreversibility, the fact that she exchanged a flawed but authentic relationship for a perfect but imaginary one, this realization weighs so heavily that some women's brains shut down emotional processing just to survive it. That's when late-night texts start arriving between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. They begin casually, "Hey, how have you been?" Or "I was remembering when we..." But what she's really communicating is, "I'm drowning and you're the only life raft I remember." During all this, her brain experiences cognitive dissonance at levels that literally alter neural pathways. Daily she must reconcile incompatible truths. "I made the right choice leaving, and I'm miserable and everything deteriorated." Maintaining contradictory beliefs creates psychological stress that's genuinely exhausting. It affects sleep, appetite, concentration. Some develop anxiety disorders, others slide into depression, many develop emotional numbness. Feeling deeply would mean confronting truth. The universe has a dark sense of humor. Right when she reaches peak regret, you're probably beginning to heal. You've processed your phases, shock, anger, sadness, but men typically handle divorce differently. We internalize, we reconstruct, we emphasize action over emotion. So when she's realizing her loss, you've already started becoming someone new, someone improved, someone who learned from both marriage and divorce, someone who ironically might be the man she always wanted. This creates psychological torture for her, because now she witnesses the version of you she claimed to want, but it's too late. You achieved it without her because of losing her. The knowledge that she catalyzed your improvement but won't benefit from it, that's a special hell that haunts her nights. Women's friendships around divorce prove fascinating psychologically. Initially, friends cheerleader for her. They rallied around, insisted she deserved better, helped construct the narrative that leaving was courageous. But as months pass, dynamics shift. Married friends distance themselves, not consciously, but instinctively. She's now a threat, a reminder that marriages end, a single woman who might attract husband's attention. Couple dinner invitations cease. Group chats continue without her. Her single friends, her assumed new tribe, they're competition now. Everyone's fishing in the same limited pond, and friendship becomes secondary to survival. Plus, she's not truly single like them. She carries baggage, history, possibly kids. She occupies a different category, and everyone recognizes it, even unspoken. Her social world, which divorce was supposed to expand, actually contracts. She has fewer genuine connections than before. Loneliness multiplies. The support system she relied upon reveals itself as conditional and superficial. She realizes something terrifying. You weren't just her husband, you were her best friend. Emergency contact, automatic +1, safe haven. And she discarded it for what? For the concept that something superior awaited. Here's an unspoken psychological truth. Women leaving long marriages often develop phantom relationship syndrome, like amputees feeling phantom limbs. Divorced women experience phantom relationships. She catches herself turning to tell you something amusing, then remembering your absence. She hears your voice in her head throughout the day. She wakes momentarily forgetting you're gone, then must relive the loss again. This isn't necessarily love. It's neurological. Her brain spent years wiring itself around your presence. Those neural pathways don't vanish. The universe conspires to remind her, Your song plays on the radio. She discovers your old shirt in laundry. Kids say something exactly like you would. She visits that restaurant you loved and realizes food tastes different without someone to share it with. These aren't mere memories. They're psychological anchors dragging her toward the reality she's escaping. Let's be honest about numbers. If she's 35 plus, divorced, possibly with kids, seeking a serious relationship with a quality man who's also single, emotionally available, financially stable, attracted to her, and willing to embrace another man's family, the statistical probability is brutal. Add her standards and preferences which haven't adjusted to her new market reality, and you're examining odds that make lottery tickets seem reasonable investments. But she can't acknowledge this, not to others, especially not to herself. So she creates coping mechanisms. She lowers standards while calling it being open-minded. She accepts treatment she never would have tolerated, framing it as going with the flow. She tolerates disrespect, calling it not sweating small stuff. Each compromise erodes self-esteem, but the alternative, admitting catastrophic error, is psychologically unbearable. Some women enter obsessive self-improvement mode. Not healthy improvement, desperate improvement. New hair, new body, new wardrobe, new personality even. They're attempting to become someone else who might succeed better in this reality, but it's rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. The problem isn't appearance or behavior. The problem is fundamental miscalculation about available options versus what she possessed. The truly tragic cases involve quick rebound relationships. They force into seriousness. They meet someone, anyone showing interest, and immediately attempt recreating what they had with you. They introduce kids too quickly. They push for commitment before establishing trust. They ignore red flags because problematic company beats loneliness. These relationships inevitably explode, usually spectacularly, leaving her more damaged than before. Through all this, you're the ghost haunting everything. Not through your actions, but because you're the standard, whether she admits it or not. Every man gets compared to you, not the you she divorced, but the idealized version that her regret created. The you existing in memory is superior to reality. No one can compete with a ghost she's perfected in hindsight. Around the 2-year mark, sometimes sooner, sometimes later, she faces a decision. Admit truth and attempt amends, possibly pursuing reconciliation, or double down on the lie and reshape her entire personality around it. Most choose the second option. It's easier. They become bitter, cynical. They join online communities reinforcing their choices. They become women telling other unhappy wives to leave, not because it's right, but because misery craves company and they need validation. Those choosing honesty face different challenges. How do you approach someone you've hurt so deeply? How do you admit error when you've built an entire identity on being right? How do you request forgiveness when you're uncertain you deserve it? The psychological weight crushes. Many women report that leaving wasn't the hardest thing they've ever done. There's another layer to this psychological unraveling that rarely gets discussed. What happens to her identity at the cellular level? When you're married for years, your identity isn't just you anymore. It's you as part of us. Every decision she made, from dinner choices to vacation destinations, was filtered through being a wife. Neural pathways literally formed around this identity. When she leaves, she's not just losing you, she's losing who she was with you. This creates an identity crisis psychology textbooks don't adequately address. Consider the small things she never contemplated before. Which bedside to use when the whole bed's empty? What to watch when there's nobody to compromise with? Where to eat when every restaurant screams that she's dining alone? These seem trivial, but they're death by 1,000 cuts to her psyche. Every tiny decision reminds her she's navigating life without a co-pilot she fired. Financial reality drops around month 9. Divorce is expensive. Single life is expensive. That dual income providing comfort? Gone. Now she's maintaining the same lifestyle on half the resources. But it transcends money. It's about what money represents. Security, stability, the ability to dream without checking account balances first. She traded financial partnership for financial independence. But independence without resources isn't freedom. It's decorated poverty. Here's something nobody prepares her for. Physical touch deficit. Not sex, the 1,000 small touches happening in marriage. The hand on her lower back passing in the kitchen. Feet touching under covers. The automatic hug after bad days. Touch is a human need as real as hunger or thirst. Suddenly she might go days, weeks without meaningful human contact. Her body rebels. Stress hormones spike. Sleep becomes elusive. Her immune system weakens. She's literally becoming sick from skin hunger, but she can't admit it. That would mean admitting she needs what she rejected. Some women develop performance exhaustion. They've performed happiness so long they forget what genuine emotion feels like. Their smiles become reflexive, not reflective. Their laughter sounds hollow even to themselves. They post about living their best life while crying in cars after school drop-off. The gap between public persona and private reality becomes so vast they feel like they're living double lives. Maintaining that double life exhausts. It's like being an undercover agent in your own existence. This creates the final psychological torture. Regret without redemption. Awareness without action. She knows what she lost. She knows it was her choice, and she knows it's irreversible. She must live with this knowledge daily. Every happy couple she sees reminds her. Every romantic movie salts the wound. Every wedding anniversary passing without celebration monuments her miscalculation. Then there's the moment it always comes when she sees you happy. Maybe it's a social media photo. Maybe it's running into you at the store. Maybe the kids mention fun they had with you and your new girlfriend. In that moment, something breaks inside her that can never fully repair. Because your happiness proves the problem wasn't the marriage, it was her perception of the marriage. You're capable of happiness. You're capable of love. You're capable of being the man another woman wants, which means you always were capable. She just couldn't see it. Or worse, she saw it but wanted more. This is the final psychological blow. Realizing she didn't leave a bad relationship. She left a relationship she made bad in her own mind, and now she must live with that knowledge forever, watching from sidelines as you build the life she convinced herself was impossible, just with someone else who appreciated what she couldn't. Many of these women eventually realized the marriage problems weren't entirely about you, or even mostly about you. They were about her self-dissatisfaction that she projected onto the relationship. The restlessness, the feeling something was missing, the sense that life should be more exciting. Those were internal issues that leaving didn't solve. Actually, leaving made them worse because now she faces them alone without the stability and support you provided. So what actually happens to your wife after divorce? She gets exactly what she requested. Freedom, independence, the chance to start fresh, and she discovers that what she asked for and what she wanted were completely different things. She wanted to feel alive but feels dead inside. She wanted excitement but got chaos. She wanted to be desired but became disposable. She wanted better but got different. And different isn't always better. Sometimes different is just different. Sometimes, more often than anyone admits, different is worse. The ultimate psychological revelation hitting these women, usually years later, is this. They didn't leave because you weren't enough. They left because they thought they deserved more. But deserving and getting are different things. The market doesn't care what you think you deserve. Reality doesn't adjust to expectations. And by the time they figure this out, the chance to fix it has usually passed. That's the truth about what happens to your wife after divorce. Not the Instagram version, not the story she tells friends, not even the story she tells herself, but the real, raw psychological unraveling occurring when someone trades flawed reality for perfect fantasy and discovers the fantasy was the biggest lie they ever told themselves.